Okie dokie. The stream has been started. I'm just gonna check my audio. Okay, I can hear myself. Would you like to say something? Test if I can hear your audio through Restream.
Sure.
Say something. Test if I can hear your audio through Restream.
Sure.
Say something. Yeah, there you go. So there's going to be some double ups with this kind of stuff. So, yeah, just hanging out today, finishing my dailies, doing some Duviri, doing some, some Zaryaman. And today I'm joined with MildlyChaotic.
Oh there.
Yeah, so she's watched a couple of my previous series that I streamed before. Unlike the other ones, I don't think she's terribly familiar with the lore of Warframe, right?
I have no idea what's going on.
Makes sense. Most of us don't know what's going on. Most of us don't know what's going on. So, yeah. How would you like to start? Because I think starting from the very beginning is just a mistake with Warframe.
Where would you start?
Okay. So, ultimately, what it boils down to is Warframe is a mix of space ninjas, space pirates, and superheroes, and magic.
Space ninjas sound fun.
So it's like, as you mentioned before, like the movement is very fluid, as you can see on stream.
Yeah.
All right. And that's one of the things that the devs pride themselves in.
Mm-hmm. Let's say I really like the robot designs.
Mm-hmm. I think the devs go out of their way to create very inhuman designs.
Mm-hmm.
Which it is a big risk, I think, and very much appreciated in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like there originally two dev teams, right? The first dev team, the original dev team, which is responsible for most of the balancing. Oh, so that does roll. That didn't roll last time. Anyways. So from what I understand, the first dev team has both dev teams have a personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one kind of had like a vendetta against someone's ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For instance, I remember like in the very, very first days of Warframe, right? Like this was when it was in open beta or closed beta, and like I just got access to it, and they were doing like, we need to do hot fixes constantly because everything's breaking, right? I remember very distinctly one of what we call red texts, right? Because that's how the dev communicates that there's an update coming, right? Say hotfix coming in 5 minutes or something along those lines, and then hotfix coming in 4 minutes. It might take a little longer. Tanking wife aggro.
Okay.
Not too long after that, they begin talking about the X instead. I think they still talk about the X, except like they aren't a primary part of the experience anymore. So the new dev team is much more thirsty. Just so to speak. For instance, I'll show you the character later, but
Uh-huh.
when they were announcing that the update was going to go live for a new character, they said something along the lines of these new updates and fixes to older Warframes will make your gem OC sparkle.
Oh gosh. Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's been I wouldn't say downhill, but it's been fairly consistent ever since. For instance,
Some people would say it's more uphill considering the work.
Yeah, so one of the more we'll get into this in a little bit, but one of the things about Warframe is that there are technically three variations of each Warframe, right? The normal one that you get through normal playthrough, and then the Prime variant, right? That is the original mass-produced model back during the age of, like, quote unquote, the Age of War, right? And the reason why I bring this up is they recently released a Prime for a Warframe named Hildren, which is essentially a very muscular feminine frame, right?
Okay.
And I still don't have that Warframe. I'll probably pick it up soon. But I believe her, like, one of her search tags ever since the dev stream is Muscle Mommy.
Gosh. That tells me that the community is very thirsty.
I mean,
Bad.
they are. So, like, they were showing off some of the the animations for the Warframe that the GemOC uses as a search tag, right? And basically they put it on a female model with, like, just because they didn't have the active Warframe ready, right? I think you're playing with again.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So, like, they basically put it on, like, a classic Warframe's head on another classic Warframe's body, which made them look very voluptuous, right?
Okay.
So I'll show you, like, which frames they did this with. I hate when there's not enough things for me to kill. So, anyways, it was a male Warframe's head with a female Warframe's body, and let's just say that the community went a little rabid for a little while.
You have broken their ranks and they are on the run. Another successful mission. Find extraction.
Because, like, I'm sure if you type in Fem Loki in Google, you will find either fan art of Loki from, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Warframe.
Oh. Good to know.
So here, I'll give you a quick showing of what I mean. So my computer hates whatever's going on. So this is the helmet they used for Loki. Oh, not, yeah, this helmet, right? So let me just change up the appearance a little bit so that yeah, so this is the helmet that they used, right?
Okay.
You can see very clearly that Loki is masculine, right? And then this is the body they gave her. Hang on, let me change the appearance up a little bit. I think they gave her the base one.
Okay.
So, yeah, without the shoulder things, right? But you can see that she's quite voluptuous, right? And it lit a fire under some people's bellies when they saw that they had this animation over here. Hang on. I think I have it set up. So, oopsie. So, if I go here, appearances. So this should be her noble animation set. And I go to pistol. So every now and again they'll do a generic waiting animation, right? So they saw Fem Loki do that. And they're just like, ah.
Oh no.
Yeah, so as you can, this is the Gemosi character. You can see that they quite literally have one. But okay, I should not be talking about this on stream. Anyways, moving on. So, and I will show you base muscle mommy. How did we get here? Right, I was talking about the fan base and the different devs, right? Yeah, so you can see that this Warframe's a little bit more built than the rest.
Yes.
This is Muscle Mommy.
Makes sense.
Anyways, so that's where I'll start. I think we should start with the fun things before we get into the complicated bits, right?
Okay.
So, now let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So, where would you like to start? Would you like to start with like some of the basics, like from way back when? Or do you want to start about like where the universe is now?
Let's start with the basics.
Okay. I need a shotgun apparently. So where we are now, so basically there right now, as after the recent update with Duviri, there are two beginnings, right?
Okay.
Is this a good shotgun for this? Kuba. Yeah, let's grab that. I don't have a good setup for this. You know, here you go. So, you basically either wake up in a sleeping pod, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are piloting a Warframe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are doing your best to survive first before figuring out that you've been asleep for like thousands of years, and a hostile military force is trying to take whatever relics, and you are a living relic at this point, you have, and use them to bolster their power, right?
Okay.
Now we have Duviri, which actually spoils a lot of it, right? So Duviri is you can either choose to begin your gameplay experience in Duviri or in the Origin system, right?
Okay.
So in the Origin system, you wake up as a Warframe, you're a living relic, and an evil military force known as the Grineer are trying to capitalize on finding you, murking you, and taking your equipment. And
Gotcha.
Figuring out how to use you. In Duviri, you're trapped in a dreamlike state, right? And you find out that the living paradox you exist in is kind of like it's a prison sentence that has you relive a tragedy over and over again, right?
Okay.
Relive a story over and over again. And it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's very strongly hinted at that Duviri serves as a barrier between something very large and dangerous that lives in the void and the origin system.
Okay.
We know that creature to be the man in the wall, or at least that's how we know them. Yes, it's a spoiler, but you have no idea what that means.
No, I do not.
Yeah. So that should be fine, right? Hopefully the setup is good enough for this fight. So, yeah. So the whole point of Duviri is figuring out how to end the cycle, and B, finding out that
The VIP that we're hunting.
there is also something out there that's like, we need to keep out of the origin system, right?
Krill is aware of
Okay.
your strike first. Krill is a seasoned war hero with many battles under his belt. His victories
Okay,
are
so that's the very start of it. Like, one thing, I really do enjoy the Duviri experience, right? But there is one big issue I have with it, is that it feels like you don't really know anything of what's going on if you start playing it from Duviri, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
Second is that you don't know, like, it creates an expectation for how gameplay will be, right? Because, yeah, you get to use your Warframe, right? But you also have combat with another form. Like, you see me hop out into this, right? This person is the Drifter, right? This is this is a major spoiler, so spoiler warning for anyone who is watching out there. But the universe of Warframe operates on a fundamental universal concept. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called eternalism. Eternalism, yeah. And basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, it's essentially all reality, all possibilities happen. Like, if there's a 1% chance that you were to win the lottery, right? Or if there's like a 0.001% chance of you winning the lottery, then you have won the lottery. But it wouldn't be the current reality that we reside in.
Okay, makes sense.
So the Drifter. Oh, I have the wrong setup for this. Hang on. Let me hop out. Let's use Saren, I guess. So, the main issue is more so that, like, with the Drifter, is that there's two forms, right? There's the Drifter, which is the adult, right? This adult is someone who was never saved. They don't have any void powers by default, and like without special help, they wouldn't be able to pilot a Warframe, right? However, in most realities, I don't know why I have this face equipment on my character. Let me take that off. Facial accessories. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Those are ugly. So, okay, don't get rid of that then. Yeah, I don't. So, I don't know why the human children look very strange, but that's what we got. So, this individual, as a child, made a deal with the man in the wall, right, and gained void powers.
Okay.
And to manage those void powers, they were essentially given warframes to kind of help them channel their abilities. Yeah, but that's not the be all and end all of like what's going on. It's a lot more complicated because, of course, it has to be complicated, right? But that's just the basics, right? You start out either the Warframe or as the Drifter.
Gotcha.
Shotgun. Yeah. So let's see. Is there any questions so far with that regard?
No, I think I understand.
Okay. So originally there were 3 main players in the lore, or 4 main players in the lore, right? The Tenno, which are what we call the people who use the Warframes. The Grineer, the Corpus, and the Infested.
Okay.
Which ones do you want to hear about first?
What are the Grineer?
So the Grineer were originally they're essentially the guys on this planet right here, right? They are the military, they are a militarily driven group of or a faction that's just militarily driven. They use cloning technology to mass produce soldiers.
Okay. What was it, corrupted?
The Corpus.
Corpus.
There is a faction called the Corrupted.
Okay.
We don't understand them very well because they've kind of been added 10 years ago. And they haven't truly been explored yet up until quite recently, actually, in Duviri.
Okay.
Oh no, I have the wrong setup again. No, it's fine. I'm just going to leave it. So the Corpus, they are a group of armed merchants that religiously believe, they have a religious belief in the void and money.
Okay.
That's what I can. Does this help? No, this doesn't help me at all. Okay. I'm just checking if I can. Oh.
So do they worship money?
Yes, they worship money.
Okay.
For instance, there is a character by the name of Nef Anyo, and he believes himself to be the prophet of profit. Okay, I'm not set up properly for this. And then we have the Infested, which is some kind of bioweapon that, kind of got out of hand. They're essentially this universe's version of zombies.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. They have mostly been forgotten by the devs.
But zombies did exist in this universe at some point.
They still exist, very much so. Come on. Why? Yeah, so I'm just being bad at the game. That's all I'm being. I should have just picked something easy, but no, I had to do something dumb. There we go. He's dead. So, the original set of devs were very intent on making bosses that people couldn't one-shot, and as a result made very, very annoying bosses that no one likes to fight. That is one of them. Because it's just a waiting game. All of their bosses are waiting games. So,
Gotcha.
but the newer set of devs have made better bosses.
Hmm.
So, okay. So those are the three main factions, right?
Hmm.
Now, mind you, like each faction isn't completely united, right? What did I get? Oh, right, it's Stalker. Okay. Each one, like basically each planet, is run by a leader of sorts, right? For instance, the one we just fought, he is the. I think he's the leader of Mars,
Gotcha.
right? So, yeah. So he essentially, like, he basically is the leader of Mars. He runs the Grenier in Mars, right? On Mars. And even though there isn't a mission to display this, there's plenty of inner conflict between within the Grenier faction, the Corpus faction, and otherwise, right? For instance, there are some syndicates that exist. So, for instance, these guys are philanthropists, Corpus individuals who believe that money should belong to everyone, and the use of debt to trap them in eternal servitude is just heinous, right? They belong to the Corpus. These people are independent, but they think technology is a sin.
Gotcha.
These people
So
are terrorists.
I just imagine like the first guy as being like the Amish people.
Yeah, apparently their face is not showing, but these guys are essentially terrorists.
Okay.
They just want to set everyone on fire. Like,
So they're just like
there's
bad, big bad.
they're not even a big bad. They're a syndicate that you can join.
Really?
Yeah, and they're aligned with another group of terrorists, which apparently none of these. You know what? I'm going to visit these people, and I'll show you each and every one of them. Okay.
Alright.
So, the thing about the Grenier is that there's one thing that they are unified in, is that they serve the queens, right?
Okay.
And they are genetically hard coded to want to serve the queens, right?
It's like ants.
Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
however, there are some people with genetic defects or become disillusioned enough with the Grenier to try to split off. Right? These people often tend to be quite early in their genetic heritage, and therefore they don't have as much as what we call gene rot, right? You can see that she's not very pretty, right? But she is fairly clean-skinned compared to some of the Grenier that literally have baby faces. Like, let's take a look at this guy. Oh, we can't just take a look at him, but so those are a bunch of Grenier exiles. They escaped the Grenier and the queens. This is Cephalon Suda. She is an AI addicted to. Oh, why is my computer's frozen? There we go. Cephalon Suda. Oh, that's why. Yeah. So Cephalon Suda is an AI that is addicted to music or searching for artistic. They look for relics that show that the older, like in history, there were a lot of different forms of music and art and things like that, and she likes to collect that shit.
I was gonna say cocaine, but
I mean, she looks like cocaine.
Music. Yeah.
Yeah. So one curious thing is that in the Warframe universe, AI does exist, but it's not true. It's not really AI. It's someone that used to be alive, that ancient civilization known as the Orokin thought that they had a skill set so useful, except the person that skill set belonged to was so dangerous that they would rip all of their personality out of it, all of their free will, and turn it into a computer algorithm. Right? So all of the Cephalons were originally people, to some extent.
Sounds horrific.
Yeah. These guys are a bunch of asshats. They see themselves as judge, jury, and executioner for the solar system, despite, there's constantly being war. All right, let's move across.
They look pretentious.
Oh, yeah. They're constantly judging. These are the people, you can clearly tell that these people don't like technology.
Nah, they're like the hippies of space.
I have a member of my spaceship, like a member of my crew for my war galleon, that constantly complains about using medicine. Yeah.
They're like the anti-vaxxers of the universe.
Yeah. So, I believe, they are completely most of these individuals or factions are completely independent of. Then we have these guys who I already talked to you about. They are like money. They're like the Bernie Sanders. They talk about giving everyone money, and then they keep all the money.
Gotcha.
Right. And then terrorists.
Yeah, it looks like that.
So I'm not sure what their deal is, but they want to set everyone on fire. So yeah, go ahead.
They're just like, we want to watch it all burn.
Yeah. So each of these factions are allied and opposed to another faction, right? So the money people, they have strong relations with the nature people, right? I don't think it's because they have too much in common. I think it's because they disagree the least.
Mixed, yeah.
And they have no problem with the terrorists.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, mind you, these terrorists, they use pathogens to do things, right? So they aren't opposed to their existence because they don't fight each other, right? So the terrorists, so the religious terrorists, are with the technological terrorists. These guys. So these guys, they use explosives to get their way. So both terrorists are allied with each other. But the people,
they're kind of like, let's destroy the world together.
Well, yeah, they give each other bombs. Anyways, so basically, these guys are strongly opposed to the money people. Because the money people, I think it's the money people. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's the money people. They're opposed to the money people, and they would rather see that money go to being militarized and actually doing something with that money instead of hoarding it.
Makes sense.
Now, the science terror or the mechanical terrorists are neutral with the AI and the judges, right?
Mhm.
So the AI and the arbiters are allied. Probably because they agree that mutually that they have at least some semblance of logic to their existence.
Mhm.
Right. And I believe this one is strongly opposed to the nature girl, the nature one.
Really? Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah. So, and then let's see. Then there are two more factions. This is another Cephalon. He doesn't understand what personal space is, first and foremost. He also is a
Oh.
sadist.
Oh?
Yeah. So he is the kind of person that's like, information is like the most important thing ever. So I want you to go out there and and quote unquote scan people so I can enslave them in my eternal simulation and force them to fight millions and millions of deaths.
Why?
So,
Okay.
yeah, he claims to do this for the sake of science, right? But he's essentially condemning millions of people to become cephalons.
Sounds absolutely terrible. Like,
And then last but not least, I think it's here. Nope, that's navigation. This is the Conclave. This is the PvP place. No one plays PvP. But
uh,
he also does Steel Path and stuff like that. Oh, I should pick this up. Here we go. So, yeah, he's more involved in the story than he is with the other factions.
okay.
Oh, also the sadist, he's also a tsundere.
Okay.
Because he's just
Okay.
he points at all the other cephalons and say how illogical they are, and then when they're all in trouble, he's like, "It's not like I'm here to help you or anything." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Sounds like a lot of war crimes in space politics.
it's mostly war crimes. Almost no
Lots-
politics ever happen.
Lots and lots of war crimes.
So, like, for instance, I'm gonna click on this guy, right? And let's see what he says. He might say like some of the most terrifying things ever.
You are a true hunter. Where would the sanctuary be without you?
So we're his accomplice, right? That's one thing. Come on.
The multitude of creatures you have immortalized would cry out in thanks, if they could.
Yeah. Give that. That's just a terrifying thought, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there are lots of little factions like that out there, right? I'll go through each and every one of them real quick. So, Earth, they have a bunch of tribe people.
Okay.
This guy looks like a fish. He's the leader of the fish people. They're human, but he looks like a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we're affiliated with these guys. I'm gonna be honest.
What do you...
I think mostly for this guy.
They look like mushrooms.
Yeah, so this guy is associated with the Quills, right? Which is an ancient organization that apparently knows way more than they ever let on to.
Okay.
For instance, this individual in particular was able to see into like millions of different futures and see that if he stayed with his wife, right?
Uh-huh.
The end for her would always be bad. and the only one that she would be happy in is the one where he left.
That's terrible.
So he decided to leave.
That's terrible.
Right. So the quills have something that we don't really quite understand. Right. They also understand how to amplify and redirect the void. Right. Into a potent weapon. Next is Venus. So in Warframe, at some point, the Orokin tried to terraform Venus and turn it into a livable location, right?
Sparky! Good to see you.
Yeah.
Kid.
So
Step aside,
so
dimwit.
the
Let a real doer get on in.
Solaris United is a bunch of debt slaves.
That looks concerning. It looks like a person instead of a radiator.
That's essentially what it is. So essentially, the corpus have gone so far into creating debt slaves that these people had to literally sell their organs to pay off some debts.
Big yikes.
It's at the point where like they sold their necks, so they had to put life support systems in their, like they sold their entire torso, right? So they had to put their head in a protective case instead robotic torso instead.
Gee.
Children are not immune to this either.
Oh, that is
So
absolutely terrible.
this one had to give up an eye, for instance.
Okay.
Stick to the business lately.
And this is the liaison to the
Does
quills.
he ever? Never mind. You and me.
That is
we need to-
very cursed. Like, very, very cursed.
Indeed, indeed. Then we have a family known as the Entrati.
Okay.
They are the last living remnants, at least publicly known, of the ancient civilization of the Orokin,
Okay.
right? And the issue with them is, yes, they are Orokin. They're thousands of years old. But they also have been infected by the infestation.
Okay.
So that has further granted them longer lives. Because they cannot die. The thing about the infestation, it's all about force of will. For some strains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Orokin are a little weird. They're this, like, horribly, like, hierarchical civilization, right? Where the richest of the rich that led the civilization, they thought of body modification as something that, like, to pursue beauty, right? So they would dye their skin blue. They would artificially extend their right arm. And they were functionally immortal. And what they would do is that they would use a substance called kuva to transfer their consciousness into another body, mangling and destroying the previous one in the process, right?
Okay.
So they basically was like, oh, that little girl looks cute. Here's my kuva. And
That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible.
right. Yeah, so it basically the Entrati also were entrusted with building the ancient prototypes to the Warframes, right? Which are called necromechs, which are giant robots. Not giant robots, they're big robots they're essentially walking tanks.
Okay.
And then finally, the Entrati. No, not the Entrati. The Holdfast, the Chrysalith, the Zariman, yes. Um, so the Zariman is the name of the spaceship that our character and a lot of others were using to travel using the void to another solar system. That solar
Okay.
system is known as Tau. Okay? Something went wrong. There was a critical failure, and it drove the adults insane, forcing our character to make a deal with the man in the wall and giving all of the children access to void powers.
Okay.
However, that's just one universe. Like I said, this game operates on the fundamentals of eternalism. And
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so kind of like a multiverse type of concept.
Yes, kind of, sort of. They all happen the exact same time, and they're all like stagnant. They cannot intersect. At least without interference with the void, they cannot intersect. So no matter how hard you try, unless you had powers over the void, you will never go to that universe where you won the lottery.
Gotcha.
So the individuals of the Holdfast in the Zariman, a reminder, our character was already rescued from the Zariman like thousands of years ago. Right? And this version of the Zariman shows up. Right? Out of the blue, out of nowhere. They contained only 5 of the individuals that have survived a majority of those universes. And they have the memories of all versions of themselves.
Interesting.
And they are also functionally immortal.
Very interesting.
So let's head over here really quick, because that's the next bit of gameplay that I'm going to be doing, mostly. Then we have like the void, which is infested with the corrupted, which are void manifestations of all active military might. And is where all of the secret relics, like basically the prime versions, the originally mass-produced versions of the Warframes exist, and other pieces of equipment.
Plenty need. The tide is turning. I can feel it. We will reclaim this place.
Void armor getting destroy 3 angels. Exterminate. Let's just do exterminate. Makes life easy.
Hard. No quarter.
I should probably make a setup for like everything else, but I'm just gonna go nice and easy. Yeah, so I think now there might be more questions to be asked, right?
I guess.
Don't worry too much. Oh no, I have to complete this in 6 minutes. Okay, go fast.
Greedy, plundering, busy bastards have come aboard without permission. Mow them down without.
I guess within this story,
Yeah.
what role does like the main character or the character you play as have?
So the devs are kind of confused on that.
Okay.
For all intents and purposes, we're essentially mercenaries.
Okay.
We fight the argument is that we fight for the purpose of maintaining balance in the solar system, right? We can't allow the corpus to have too much influence. We can't allow the Grineer to have too much influence. We can't allow the infestation to spread ever. But we also can't just wipe it out because it's an important way of keeping the other guys at bay.
So basically keeping it balanced.
So one thing that's really strange is that technically we're supposed to be the only Tenno alive and active. But either due to paternalism or some other shenanigans, like the reason why we can play with our friends is because like this is the version of the Origin system where like we all have void powers, so we're able to interact with each other. But like story wise, it's written in such a way that we're the only important person.
Okay.
Which is, you can imagine, very weird.
Yeah.
I'm just checking every now and again to that. So like, essentially the gameplay loop for us is we map out the whole solar system, and then we do jobs that gives us the rewards that we're looking for. And the only jobs that we ever do are for the sake of balance in the universe, or not universe, the solar system.
Okay.
A little bit convoluted, a little bit silly, but that's our role in the story.
I'm also like, is there an end?
Is there an end?
End goal? I guess.
So I mean, it's a live service game, so that like the end goal is what we make of it.
Okay.
But like for the most part, it depends on the person playing and the character. Because it could be revenge, it could be finding balance, it could be maintaining the peace. Where is it? It should be up here. There it is. Let's see, what else is there? I'm gonna look for the angel. Because each mission should have an angel available. But anyways, so for instance, the life's purpose for the drifter, right, is to figure out what is going on in the modern Origin system, because they're a version of us that survived on their own, right? They didn't get any void powers. And their secondary thing is they want to prevent whatever the quote-unquote angel's master is from breaking free.
Okay.
From what I understand, the angel's master is probably the man in the wall.
Okay.
My favorite neighbor.
In which only a handful of people actually know who it is.
Excellent.
What does like the man in the wall?
What is the man in the wall?
No, like what does he want?
We don't know.
Oh.
We just know that it is not it isn't a wholly good thing, right?
Okay.
There's a reason why, like, even though the Corpus worship the Void, they call us the Devil. Every faction calls us the Devil, to some extent.
Okay.
Because we actively wield the Void. Right? Where the Void is supposed to be a nigh uncontrollable corrupting influence, right? You either offer people to the Void or surrender to it. You don't control it.
Okay, makes sense on why they would call you that.
And the man in the wall is an entity that is able to manipulate and like it is the whole reason why we have void travel or void based technologies in the first place, right? So there is a character in the lore known as Elbrick Entrati. He is the patriarch and progenitor of the Entrati, right? That we talked about. He created a portal that opened up to the void, right? And in that portal, he saw a reflection of himself that had white eyes and was constantly smiling, calling him by an old name that his mother used to call him. Right? That was terrifying for him. Right? So he ran through the portal and told his daughter to shut off the portal as soon as possible. And that creature, whatever it was, passed their one digit of their finger through the portal, and that finger was cut off along with the portal.
Okay.
Now, using that, now understanding that, Elbrick and Trotty took that finger and used it to study the void, and never dared open that portal ever again. For, like, he didn't know if it was waiting on the other side again. So, basically, warp travel and like all of the technology that they have, like the special technology that they have, is based off of void technology. And he was, from what I understand, successful in recreating the finger of what we now know as the Man in the Wall, which allows him access to the void. For instance, we have access to a space battleship known as the Railjack, right? And it's capable of void travel. And in the back of it, there is a finger.
That is kind of scary. It's like, so all the void, or can that finger create a bunch of void power?
So the finger, from what I understand, the whole purpose of it is to tap into void energy, and either using it as a fuel source or a new, like, as a way of generating power for some weapon systems.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Little bit convoluted because it's never fully explained. We just know that Albrecht and Trotty really shouldn't have done that. But hindsight is 2020. Because in a scenario known as the New War, let's just say the Drifter lost.
Really?
Because, for lack of a better explanation, I'm about to lose. I need to speed up, like, a lot. I have 30 seconds to get through a lot of people. I'm stuck. Come on. Like, because I don't think you're too worried about the lore at this point. Like, or like the spoilers of the lore. Okay, I need to kill more. Come on, almost there. Whew. Okay. The man in the wall's free.
Okay.
And the Drifter, the whole purpose of them spending so much time in Duviri, like after being free from it, was to prevent the men in the wall from breaking free.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it broke free either means that it's like this is the first time in any reality that it's ever broken free.
Oh, wow.
And like Warframes are known as one-man armies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the most powerful existences ever. So that's why, like, if one is willing to hire itself out to you, then you're gonna take it. You're gonna take it no matter what, right? So, now the source of their power, the man in the wall, is free.
Hmm.
And not only is the man in the wall free, that the incident that broke him free sent out the Zariman as well.
Okay.
So this is why this multi-dimensional hub world exists, right?
Mm.
It's because the Zariman is, well, all versions of the Zariman was lost, right? And now it is. Yeah, there's very, very little that we understand, and it's probably going to be like another 5 years before we learn anything more about that.
Oof.
Okay, so what is available today?
Look at us, chatting like old friends.
Ooh, Riven mods. Rifle Riven, melee Riven. I want these quite badly. And this. So
There'll be other times.
let me swap my equipment. Yeah, so Duviri, like, the nice thing is you can play mostly almost exclusively Duviri, right? At this point, with the new update, because it's essentially a brand new game, right? That loosely ties into Warframe.
Okay.
So let's see. I have, like, there's a lot to talk about with regards to everything else, and it's like a lot to digest, right? So let's see. What is the weirdest thing that you kind of want to hear a little bit more about?
I don't know.
Like, where do some of these warframes come from? like where lore-wise do any of the Warframes, like, why do some of them exist? You know.
Where do the
So you remember when I said that, like, some people, like, were too dangerous to stay alive, but they had skills that they wanted to keep? Now imagine if you had combat prowess
okay.
and you were given a special form of infestation to rob yourself of your control of your body and giving you superhuman abilities, right? And you were forced to become a killing machine, right? This is what a Warframe is. They are a former Orokin inhabitant that was forced to become a Warframe through infestation.
Bombstein was envious.
And
Of what?
with
Anything.
that knowledge,
Wherever
right?
his gaze fell,
It's
it seemed other
like,
people had it
so
better.
these things were also like driven crazy, right? By like, because they were sapped of their personality and their sense of will, right? So
Any treasure dug up in Duviri is automatically the property of the king.
the Tenno, with their void abilities, were able to calm their Angi.
So I'm guessing you're the last Tenno, right?
It's not clear.
Or the... Okay.
Oh,
But
Bombstein
are
was
there...
fire,
Is there like a population of Tenno, or you don't know how many there really is?
loved more. And
So
that was
the
poison to
story
him.
tells us that there's only we're the only important one.
Okay, but the Tenno can control the Warframe?
Yes. Like, the story treats us like we're the only Tenno that's still alive. But the older story, like older conversations with NPCs, they seem to be fairly convinced that they're more than just us.
Gotcha. I would say probably a small amount, though. If anything.
I have no idea, personally. That is one thing I definitely cannot answer. Let's see. Yeah, essentially, like, some groups just see us as a convenient resource or potential source of income.
Gotcha.
A new void treasure may now be extracted.
Let's see. So,
It'd be interesting story-wise if you had to go against another Warframe at some point.
so that does happen in various different instances. For instance, whenever we perform a quote-unquote assassination, right? A mysterious figure known as the Shadow Stalker sends us an email saying that you will regret that. And essentially causes us a little bit of problems by invading us from time to time.
Marking void treasure extraction site.
Let's see. Also, there are void created phantasms of the Tenno that block what are known as solar rails, right? That lets us travel at light speed from planet to planet.
An extractor requires
Okay.
And they are like void-born warframes that will try to impede your path.
Okay.
So the Shadow Stalker invades you. There are a group of people that are basically acolytes of the Shadow Stalker that also invade you.
extractor is out of power.
The Corpus have, or at least a small Corpus faction has devised a way to control warframes and pilot warframes
Okay.
and create specters of warframes
Gotcha.
as well. So there are like, and then there are some like superpowered individuals that are probably warframes in and of themselves. There are also some Tenno that never went into hibernation, and or warframes that never went into hibernation or were never controlled by Tenno. Because all warframes at some point maintained a form of will, right? For instance, Inaros is one of those warframes. He is probably the most worthless warframe in the game. But he basically, his abilities don't do anything. All he does, so you see how I have like 300 health? Inaros by himself, without any mods, has like 5,000 health. And that's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. He has one ability
Okay.
that heals him.
Has been located.
One ability that makes him have more armor.
Deploying.
And you probably don't want to use him, ever.
Is he like a tank but no damage?
He's not even a very good tank.
Oh.
Like, this character I'm using is probably a better tank than Nina, even with her 300 HP. Because tanking in this game is very strange.
Extractor charge expended.
Wait, this gun only has 2 shots. Oh god, why? That's so sad.
An extractor is out of power.
He's very annoying to always have to reload.
Some weapons, like, they deserve that. The Twin Roga, I don't think are that kind of weapon. Anyways,
An extractor requires power.
oh, I don't get knocked down from this. Cool. Okay, so let's see. So we covered where the warframes come from.
Where do the Tenno come from?
So, you know how I said like the Zarman kind of like is screwed up, and a lot of the adults went insane. The Zarman was known as the Zarman 10-0.
Okay.
In other words, 10-0.
Gotcha.
And the children who survived are now like were corrupted by void energy. Were titled the Tenno. And they essentially became like a military arm of the Orcan organization.
You have gained much.
However, at some point that's still not quite clear, after like a war, they came home and during their parade, they assassinated all of the higher-ups in the Orcan
With sweet words, he persuaded others to his side.
Orcan
His
civilization,
thoughts were only ever of himself.
murdering many, many folk. And apparently the stalker was one of the kids that witnessed their family get murdered.
Owe you their lives, don't they?
Yikes.
How does that feel? Save a condemned criminal. For me, I want to see the pathetic gratitude in his eyes. As I said,
So yeah.
Why the guy just squatting there? Why is the guy just squatting there?
Apparently I'm supposed to free him,
Okay.
but the bar over there is a little bit confusing because it sounds like I'm capturing him. Oh, the dog. The dog is actually in the way. The dog counts as an enemy for some reason. Get out of here.
There you go. Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Stupid dog. That really shouldn't happen. Get out of here. Yeah, out of here.
This guy's just standing.
Yeah. It's
Happening.
a little weird. So I'm supposed to be freeing him. Uh-oh. There we go. Roll to reload. Sure. So I'm just doing this so that I have enough resources to pick up all of the things.
Right.
So every day, like, some rewards rotate around. So
Each new conquest. Never once did he think.
mostly doing
Surely
this for
that is
that.
enough. Surely now I can stop.
I want everything. Every coin, every thread, every blade of grass that turns in the field. Yes, yes, steal them for me.
Yeah, if you're wondering why, like, Duviri's a little weird, it's basically supposed to be based on a children's storybook. And that's why it's so strange. It's like a child storybook made manifest.
Interesting and yeah, it is true.
So, I mean, if anyone's watching this later, they'll here's the spoiler warning. But essentially, the person who rules over Duviri, the Dominus Thorax that you see in the left, they're a version of us that gained void powers and decided to run away from reality.
Bombastine could only
Okay.
himself. He might not have yearned to become someone else.
So they created all of Duviri, and by accident, making it an important place for holding back the men in the wall.
Gotcha.
The Undercroft. A seething mass of void-ridden potential.
Do they still live there, or?
Technically, because so vast is like the powers of the void, is that he's able to create a reality in which he has complete control over the causality of the universe. So if he doesn't like the outcome of a story, he resets the entire world.
Gotcha.
Right. Like, that's how potent his control over the void is.
Collect them to seal the breaches.
Mounting excitement.
Ow, electricity.
Come on, plenty of room for everyone.
So these little things that I'm repairing right now are the Void Angel's attempts to breaking into Duviri.
Gotcha.
Yeah, lore-wise.
So they're trying to get in so they can release the man in the wall?
Yes. At least that's what we understand. Unless there's a different master in the Void.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of the angels are former crew members of the Zariman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they come from realities where the children never gained void powers and were all just murdered, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, all of the adults that have gone insane turned into angels. The crew on the Zariman are the miraculous few that were able to resist said corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And I think canonically one of them has a crush on the tenor.
Okay.
I don't think that's very relevant anywhere, but it's kind of cute.
A breach has been sealed. Excellent work.
Okay, let's see. I think I covered most of the basics with that, like what are the Warframes, where do they come from, what is Duviri.
Yeah.
Really complicated, and I still haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty.
Ooh. Okay.
So I believe you can find like a comprehensive like lore dump of Warframe on YouTube. And if it's only the important bits, it's like an hour and 40 minutes straight of conversation.
Yikes.
If it's like including some of the side bits, but all of it being important, it's 7.5 hours.
Jeez.
Like I think there's literally a 7.5 hour video on YouTube talking about the whole entirety of the lore.
That is terrifying to get into. A bit.
Yep. So one of the biggest difficulties Warframe has is that it's a very intimidating game to get into, right? Because there's so much, and a lot of it is not user friendly, right? It is at the point where if I were to recommend someone to play, I would make sure that they're having fun over like making sure that they finish certain like meet milestones in the content. If they wanted to meet milestones in the content, I would help them just force their way through it, right? And not actually be forced to play it, right? Because the grind for some of these things is awful. Duviri, like a bunch of the newer stuff is a lot better, like, but if you remember Venus is really bad for that. In the best case scenario, where am I? Yeah, that's why you don't give me a cutscene while I'm flying. Yeah. Stop running around. So, yeah, if you ever have any intention of picking up the game, which I'm always happy to have someone else to play with, my main primary focus is making sure that you're having a good time, and less so that like that you're forced to do any of the nonsense grind, right? I know that some players are really focused on like being self-sufficient, and all of that, but like there's some things that are kind of not great. Like Duviri and things like that, yeah, sure. But, like, if you want to grind it out, you can grind it out. Otherwise, for things like Venus, I'm just gonna give you the things for that. Like, do you know how long that farm is? If you're starting from scratch and doing it by yourself?
Long.
Like 3 or 4 months. If you're lucky.
Yeah, no. Gee.
And it's mandatory if you want some of the Warframes too.
Oh no.
So, like for instance, the Warframe that I'm using, Garuda, requires you to be max rank with those buggers, right? To craft something to build her. So you're dedicating like 2 months, like you're dedicating time to farming her pieces, farming the materials for her pieces, and dedicating time to getting up through their faction to come on, there we go. So yeah, and then you're dedicating like 3 or 4 months of your time in the hopes of getting the right resources to level up with the faction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, if you wanted to join me, I would just give you the resources that I can that just let you outright buy the thing you want to play as. Because like, yeah, like if you want to be self-sufficient, sure. I will strongly recommend against doing that for some things.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not really the type of person to really try to grind in all too much.
Like the whole.
It's like one of the.
No, you go ahead.
Like, that was like one of the reasons I gave up playing a game like Genshin Impact. It just became too much of that.
I have bad weapons for this. Let me hit you. Okay, the bad thing about this fight is I'm not allowed to go into like operator form, which is like where a lot of my damage is. Yeah, I have to use my Warframe for this. So, yeah. For instance, like the reason why I have max levels in all of the factions is mostly because I wanted to help my friends, right? Because, like, I'm the kind of person who would get up exceptionally early in the day just to play video games, right? Like back in the good old MapleStory days, right? The MapleStory Classic days, I used to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning just so that I could go to the grind spots because no one would be there. And I would just not play the game during the weekend because the grind spots would be impossible to get. I do like this dragon fight quite a bit. It's quite interesting. It's just that it's a little bit badly balanced. Because, like, well, in the hardest difficulty of the game. Stop hitting me. The hardest difficulty of the game, like those things, unless you have the right setup, it's almost impossible to break.
Gotcha.
Emotion is no longer in turmoil. The calm of the true warrior has prevailed.
Interesting meeting. Let's see what comes of it.
So I want this. So I'll do this a couple more times, because I also want to pick this up. And this. So I need to do this 3 times total. Hopefully I can rush through it. Let's pick up a... Is that the only thing to use the Enigma on?
There's a whole
I'll save my Enigma for now. I do want to buy owls. Owls are
the
cute.
one that old Billy Bob in the cave comes from. Or perhaps you already knew that.
Yeah. Like, it's a bit of a... It's quite a bit of a time sink, right? I would personally say that it's not, like, super duper worthwhile unless you have people to play with, or you're like me and have experienced all of it, right? I do think that some of the story beats are very, very interesting. It's just a little bit janky. By a little bit, I mean very janky. Because, like, my goodness, what is going on half the time? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can briefly go through, like, each planet and just say what's messed up with them. Right? Okay. So there is Mercury. There is a guy who has a boner for void technology.
Okay.
He has access to something called the Janus Key, which is an Orcan artifact that is actually something that the man in the wall is using to mind control him. Venus. I forgot the boss of Venus. Oh, this is like a weapons testing facility, right?
Gotcha.
They essentially want to they basically enslave all of the people that try to live on Venus, right? And or this is basically a prison colony, right? For people who can't afford to pay debt and have lost too many limbs to actively be useful in combat or any other place. So they're an organ farm. This is owned by an annoying person. Not this person, but where is it? There's a guy named Vahek. He's like the most obnoxious thing ever. Whatever, it's fine. And then there's the moon, where the Orcan used to live. So you see this like giant structure around the moon. Those used to be like where the Orcan cities were. Right? They used to populate the whole civilization, but the moon is where the breakthrough research was happening.
Gotcha.
Mars, dealing with the infestation. And yeah, Lakril is just an idiot. Oops. No. Deimos is literally an asteroid infested with infestation. It's more living flesh than it is rock at this point.
Pretty terrifying.
It has a lot of void-based Orcan technology, and also the vaults containing ancient necromechs. As well, it's surrounded by ancient ancient stations that used to belong to the Orcan that are all infested.
Mm-hmm.
And Phobos, which is also right next to Mars, is frequently infested. It's poorly run by another infestation. It's often run by what was it called? I think it's Alad V. Because of course it is. Series nuclear weapons tests.
Okay.
They basically build dangerous engines for gigantic Death Star style spaceships.
None of these places sound fun to even live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Death Star like spaceship engines that if they spring a single leak will like it wouldn't Chernobyl the place, it would Hiroshima them. I think that was the worst way I could have put it. I might get canceled for that. But anyways, Jupiter, amalgam test facilities. There is a faction known as the Sentient.
Mm-hmm.
They are using infested technology, like a special strain of infested, to create a species known as the Sentient.
Mm-hmm.
They were essentially sent on a one-way trip to Tau, the solar system that we wanted to go to, and they decided that if the Orcan ever went there, they would destroy Tau. So instead of coming back with like a team that says, "Hey, we finished working on Tau, you can come and live here," they sent a military force. And that's what the old war was. It was the Sentient versus the Orcan.
Mm-hmm.
And Jupiter is the modern day equivalent of the Sentient hiring Alad V, a corpus scientist who has a history of manipulating the infestation to control warframes, to create amalgamations between his people, the corpus, and the Sentient.
Okay.
So he is doing live human experiments with
Terrifying.
his own people.
Very terrifying.
Under the threat that multiple generations of their families will be under debt if they do not comply. It gets to the point where they create amalgams known as the Archons, where they are higher echelon sentients fused with a Warframe's body. Europa, I think it's infestation. Hang on. No, it's Corpus. Europa, not much is going there. They basically is a hidden weapons factory. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The Void, basically the Man in the Wall's corruption. That's basically where all of the old Orcan exist. So I'm not going to go through the rest of them too much because I think that's already too much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if anything piques your curiosity, by all means. Or we can just utterly change the topic into something not relating to the game. Because I've been talking about it for an hour and a half, and I would imagine you've been overloaded a while ago. Right? And you're just entertaining me by letting me talk, and I very much appreciate that. Like, what are your thoughts on Cult of the Lamb? Because you're doing a playthrough of that, right?
Yes, I am. It's it's fun. I think like the problem that I'm having the most socially is lag spikes during the game, which makes it extremely hard to fight anything.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Like,
Yeah,
that's mostly because of your current setup, though, yeah?
yeah.
Which, I'll just pick this because it's dumb. Stupidest weapon in the game. I'm gonna use a giant chainsaw. Oh.
Um,
I wish I could just hold it down and run around.
game weirdly makes me want to
The game weirdly makes you wanna.
play paladins.
That's the Overwatch equivalent game, yeah?
Bombastine,
Yes.
Duviri's preening peacock, was consumed by envy. Oh, many envied him, but he cared nothing for that.
I am better than any of them. Fate and small jealous others have conspired to inflict this upon me. You. Will you defy their cruelty and aid me? Some people have it all. This fellow, for instance. Strong, fast, he even has void powers. What I wouldn't do to
Okay. So it's like pretty late for me,
Mm-hmm.
and take
and I should probably have dinner.
You should probably have dinner then. Thank you for joining. Though.
Perhaps, probably.
He wanted more.
It was
Had was an affront.
it was nice learning about the Warframe.
some things I yearn.
Next time you could tell me about the lore of Cult of the Lamb. How about that?
No reason why I
Sure.
I'll join you on yours.
There's not as much.
don't you round me up a herd of my own.
Okay.
But we could definitely do that.
I mean, we could always shoot shoot the breeze. Was it? Regardless. Anyways, thanks for joining. I hope that I didn't go too overboard.
I understood most of Warframe now, or I have an understanding of it.
Okay. All right. Have yourself a good dinner. I'll probably get through and grab my daily rewards, and then probably hop off after that.
With
Okay.
sweet words, he persuaded others to
Have a good rest of your shift.
but his thoughts were
Yeah.
only
So anyone who's watching, it's MildlyChaotic 02 on Twitch,
Grasps
and
by the
if you're on my YouTube, then there should be a link in the description.
stand in the way of claiming what
Try to
get in.
Beg your pardon? You cut out there.
I try to stream on Tuesday, Thursday.
On Tuesday, Thursday?
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Alright, well, thanks for being here.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye for now.
The void can heal as well as harm. Gather the floating spheres and take them to the ruptures. ruptures as you would staunch the wounds of a comrade. Void Angels are unrelenting. You are all that is keeping them at bay. Hold fast.
Okie dokie.
The rupture is closed. The paradox stabilizes. That to happen. May become a gaping wound. Thanks to you, that will not now happen.
With each new conquest, never once did he think, surely that is enough. Surely now I can stop.
The king has these generators built, and then he lets them go to rack and ruin. Get it running again. Give me a taste of his power.
Bombstein could only have loved himself. He might not have yearned to become someone else.
Something's calling for you through the void mirror. Aren't you special? Get rid of those stacks and see what's so urgent.
Silverstein thought his self-doubt was his alone. If only he had known how many others suffer too.
Thrax's power is rooted in the Undercroft. Without it, he's not that big of a deal. Not really. Perhaps you should make your way inside for a little takeover bid.
Your presence is enough to hold the paradox at bay, but the environment itself will fight to choke you out.
Ooh, excuse me.
supposed to break her, not make her his favorite. I was meant to be the one who was loved. Me. It's not fair.
The aura worm must be subdued.
What dragon is envy? A hunger never sated, a gift never enough. It darkens the sunny days with a wanting that never is met.
Bombastein's bitter envy seethes with venom.
This is not a free ride.
Now, use the beast. Destroy Thrax's bonds. Force the beast back to its domain. The beast is cornered. Wear it down, but be alert. Worms have many tricks.
Did she put you up to this? I'll take your face and make it my new mask. Look at the beautiful worms. How loyal they are.
Find a way to stop its spawn. this one night at least.
Some faces tell a story. Yours, more of an epic tragedy. Let's see what happens.
Two more.
There's a wealth of hidden knowledge out there in Duviri, just waiting to be discovered. I should know. I hid it.
Okay. I'm probably going to do a couple more runs, but I think I'm just going to call this stream. So, anyone tuning in, thank you for watching. But it'll be ta-ta for now.